Okay, hello everyone. It's 2 o'clock, so let's begin. Thank you everybody for joining us on time. This is one of Wild Apricot's monthly expert webinars. Today, we're honored to have Amanda Myers with us. Amanda helps nonprofits grow using her expertise in research and technology. So before we get into it, let's take a quick poll to find out on our topic today. Do you currently use Instagram to create content for your organization? All right, so I'm just gonna get that poll up there and get your answers in, give you about 5 more seconds. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Cool. So Amanda's going to address that later, but we just wanted to gauge where everyone's at. So kind of neck and neck there. Great. So I'm going to bring Amanda on shortly, but in the meantime, let me introduce myself. My name is Sonia Kosla, and I'm on the Wild Apricot content team. Beside me is my colleague Steven, who will be on the chat to help you with any technical issues you might have. So during the webinar, feel free to ask any questions to us or Amanda, and to do that, you can use the chat box. Now, I want to make a couple of quick reminders before we move on. First, I want to let you know that we are recording this session and we'll be sending you an email with a link to the recording within the next couple of days. So watch out for that. And I also want to let you know that we are a CAE approved provider. So by attending today's webinar, you are eligible to earn 1 CAE credit. Okay, so we'll get going in just another couple of minutes, but let me briefly say that today's webinar is being brought to you by Wild Apricot. And I know that many of our customers are on here with us today, so big welcome to all of you. But I also know that we have many people here who aren't familiar with Wild Apricot, and I want to welcome you all as well. For those of you who don't know, Wild Apricot is a membership management software, and it's actually an all-in-one solution for anyone running a membership organization. And that's because you can manage your member and contact database, run your events, build your website, process all your payments, and more. So many of our customers consider it to be a lifesaver because it saves them hours a day in administrative tasks, freeing them up to focus on fulfilling their organization's mission. And we're quite thrilled with what many of our clients have been able to accomplish. We've watched many of them grow since we started 12 years ago, and they've watched us grow too. And thanks to our customers, we've been ranked as the #1 rated membership management software solution on the market 7 times in a row. And while we pride ourselves on helping people with great software, we're also a leading provider of free educational content, which you'll find on our blog and in webinars like today's. Now, if any of you have any questions about Wild Apricot, we're happy to answer them at the end of the webinar. So I'm just going to take a quick poll so you can let us know if you would be interested in sticking around after the webinar. And if you enter yes, please send us a message using the chat box and let us know the best way to contact you. And if you can't stick around after the webinar, we'll be able to get in touch with you. Okay, just give you 5 more seconds there. Great. Perfect. Okay, so thanks everyone. Now let me bring on Amanda. Amanda Myers is a recognized leader in developing and launching innovative online programs. Amanda brings 20 years of experience to her role as Director of Product Growth with Austin-based Personify. Her broad background includes developing highly engaging national campaigns, online tools, and loyalty initiatives for household brands including Land's End, Cars.com, Infamil, Marvel, and Samsung. The last 7 years have seen Myers leveraging her expertise to empower thousands of associations in driving similar levels of success with a strong focus on helping leaders understand their membership data to optimize engagement and embrace new technologies for exceptional results. Amanda Myers has also previously shared her passion for the nonprofit sector with audiences in speaking engagements like CESSE, ASAEMMC, and ASCE Annual. So, without further ado, Amanda, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you so much, Sonia. It is a pleasure to be with you guys today. And with that, my name, as mentioned, is Amanda. I'm with Personify, and I am delighted to be part of today's Personify crossover event. We were talking a little bit about it. It's kind of like those awesome TV shows where your favorite characters from one place end up somewhere else. So it's truly a delight to get to be part of the famous Wild Apricot education program for nonprofits. And today, I noticed that a number of you still aren't using Instagram. There's a lot here for those, if you are just starting with Instagram, if you're thinking about it, or if you've been using Instagram for some years. Hopefully you'll find some good tips and some ideas to take away with you. As mentioned, I am not only it always pains me a little bit to hear that I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been in the nonprofit technology space for about 7, and I've been on Instagram for about as long. And one of the most interesting things to me about Instagram, one of the things that I've learned when it comes to nonprofits in particular, nonprofits looking to communicate, be it with members or with donors, is that a picture can be worth 1,000 words. How many of us have sat and read or learned about, the importance of storytelling? And that's true if you're an association or if you're a donor-focused nonprofit. But founded in 2010, Instagram is among the most successful ways for all of us to share photos and videos, and it's really become a cornerstone for many organizations. Why? Well, first of all, it's free, so that never hurts, especially if you're an emerging organization, you're lean on resources. The fact that there's no cost to use Instagram is fantastic. It's also really easy. Blogging is great, for example, but it needs to be carefully written and edited. Sometimes you want to optimize for SEO. So there's a lot of work that goes into blogging. Instagram, you take your phone, you snap a photo, you maybe write a descriptive line or two, and you hit share. And that's all it really takes to get started. So even if you're new to Instagram, the learning curve is short, and you can get up to speed and get your message out there, engaging with those, existing donors and members, and also those new donors or members that you want to attract. You can engage with them quickly. For example, maybe you want to show current and prospective constituents what goes on during a monthly meeting. And so you stand up, you're standing in the back of the room maybe, and you snap a quick photo, and or maybe a video of somebody speaking, you upload it, and you're off to the races. Also, in addition to it being free and easy, it is also increasingly where our constituents are. It can be easily integrated into any existing communication strategy. And as with other social media platforms, your organization can choose to use Instagram to speak to a specific audience, or maybe a specific topic, or really focus your efforts, or go for something more broad, something with more of an appeal about your brand and about your organization as a whole. You can also use Instagram to bolster what you're publishing in your magazine, maybe your weekly newsletter on your website. It can promote any of those things. So it's free, it's easy, it's integrated, it's where organizations are. Earlier this year, Personify published research designed to explore and help nonprofits better understand the priorities and preferences of a growing number of young members who are coming to the organization. We looked specifically at first at millennials and Gen Z, and one of the most interesting areas was with regards to the channels that were most effective. When we published our omni-channel research earlier this summer, we revisited the same question, but with a broader audience, all sorts of members, all generations, and we asked them, what is effective and what do you see most often from your nonprofit organization? And that's the chart you see represented here. Again, the y-axis over to the left is what's most effective, and then the x-axis is frequency. So what's effective versus what folks are seeing either a lot or a little bit of. The upper quadrants, which you see are shaded, are the most effective channels, and things to sort of that left of 15% are things that are both effective and not used very frequently. There is where we find Instagram. You'll see things like an email newsletter over to the right, just to the right of that 20% mark in terms of being used frequently. Very, pretty effective, but used very often. Instagram, though, 44% of the constituents that we talked to said Instagram was very effective, and less than 15% said it was something they saw frequently from their organization. And, it's really no wonder that it's so influential, if you will, in terms of communicating. Instagram now has over 1 billion monthly active users. 71% of those folks are under the age of 35, with 59% of users between the ages of 18 and 29 in the U.S., making it a very sort of millennial and Gen Z heavy platform. Those 1 billion users have shared over 40 billion photos to date and around 3.5 billion likes a day. So they're sharing information, but they're also engaging with information, and that makes it a little bit different. We'll talk more in a second. But I did want to ask a quick poll question, and I know Sonia and I had discussed this in advance of today's webinar. But how much time do users spend on Instagram per day? I've made this multiple choice to keep things straight and to keep things easy. Option A, 8 minutes. Option B, 32 minutes. Option C, 1 hour and 23 minutes. Wow. Excellent job, folks. I'm sort of with the folks who spend 1 hour and 23 minutes on Instagram. 60% of users log in each day, people under the age of 25, and really this is a trend that holds across all users, spend an average of 30 minutes on the app per day. That is more time than most people spend showering, eating lunch, or maybe even doing other daily activities. People are spending more than a half hour a day on this single app. And more importantly, Instagram has a 2.2% per follower interaction rate. That beats other social networks, including Facebook, which I know is very popular with nonprofits, but Facebook only has a 0.22% interaction rate. People are engaging more on Instagram, a rate of 2.2% according to a report from Forrester. So free, easy to get started. You have a lot of constituents already there, and they're not only there consuming your content, they're there engaging with your content, which is really what you want to see. How are organizations today using Instagram? Again, if you're one of the folks joining us today on the phone, who don't currently use Instagram, this will be a good primer for you. Many use it to show their organization in action, really kind of humanizing their staff. Sometimes your leadership team can feel a bit intimidating, and they can feel like they're not accessible. You can show them having fun here. This is from the American Math Society. And the American Math Society, based in New England, is a big fan of the Boston Red Sox. Again, shows them in a little bit of a different light. Has some fun with it, humanizes the staff, can make members or donors feel more connected to the people they may be interacting with at your events or perhaps online. Timely reminders. We all put calls to action on our website. We may put it in tweets if we're using Twitter. We put it in our email newsletters. But Instagram provides another opportunity to really drive action. A visual call to action, a graphic like this. Instagram doesn't just have to be a photo or a video. If you have, a graphic design team or access to a free tool like Canva or even Microsoft PowerPoint, frankly, you can go ahead and you can design a simple graphic to remind people, hey, you know what, register for that event. It's time to renew, it's time to pay dues. If you have a fundraising deadline or maybe a happy hour upcoming. Calls to action are really essential for converting social media presence into action. And don't forget that Instagram is one of those opportunities for you to provide those timely calls to action. Again, folks logging in once more than half once a day, spending half an hour is another great way to get in front of those members and donors who may be on Instagram. One of the most popular use cases for nonprofits when it comes to Instagram is reinforcing value, showing impact. If you are a donor-focused nonprofit, you spend a lot of time talking about impact and how you show impact and how you communicate the impact of your programs. The same can be true for associations and member-based organizations, really showing what it means to be a member. Why is it important? Why is it important to join an organization? This is true if you're a very large organization, if you're a small organization, if you are looking to drive membership, or if you're driving advocacy in support of a particular cause. But use Instagram to educate the public and really increase awareness of your impact, really driving awareness for your cause. Extend fundraising or volunteer involvement. Goals ask you for support. Never underestimate the value of a thank you. I love this example on the screen from the International Justice Mission. They obviously do a lot of work to save people from human trafficking. And a lot of the times when you see nonprofits looking to communicate impact on Instagram, they're doing it by, showing sort of their programs in action, which is fantastic. This was kind of a unique thing for me to see, and I was really excited by it. It's a simple thank you. It's thousands of children are free from human trafficking today because you stepped in and sent IJM to rescue them. Thank you for rescuing and protecting these children. What a powerful statement. What a powerful visual. What a great way to sort of not only drive pride in terms of the people who support the organization, but really communicate the value and importance of what you do. Driving non-dues revenue. Who doesn't love a picture of a baby on Instagram? This is from the American Concrete Institute. It is posting event-related content extends the reach to members who maybe aren't able to attend, or maybe it looks to differentiate your event. It shows off your event to potential members, attendees, or sponsors, makes it accessible, it grabs attention. This is an adorable use of Instagram and so powerful too for driving non-dues revenue. As a parent, sometimes I wonder, I'd love to attend a conference, I can't be there. So for me, seeing event content, it gives me access to that information, it makes me feel like I'm part of the experience. Two, as a parent, what a powerful statement for ACI to put out there and say, our youngest convention attendee, an ACI advocate, welcomes everyone to the conference. Is there some opportunity for me as a parent to bring my child? Wow, I didn't think I could go to the annual conference. Maybe now I can. Maybe I should look at it some more. Maybe I can register. That helps an organization, a membership organization, drive critical non-dues revenue, and is a really interesting and compelling way to use Instagram and great content to share. And last but not least, engage. We saw that Instagram provides 2.2% engagement versus Facebook at 0.22%. There's a couple different ways to engage, and this is an example we'll talk about. First and foremost, you can go visit your followers' accounts, like their posts, engage with them, leave comments. Those are all great ways for you as an organization to engage with your members and donors, and it's really, really easy to do. It's real easy to like something. Another interesting way, and this is from the National Association of Secondary School Principals, NASSP, is getting user-generated content. Maybe you're engaging with your users. Maybe they've shared something about, hey, you know what, this has been really helpful for me, and oh, I went to this amazing event. That's important user-generated content that you can share. You can share a user's videos, photos, and more on your Instagram feed, and that increases trust and credibility with the followers. And the more people trust people more than they trust brands. You might be a nonprofit organization of a sterling reputation, but people are still really going to trust other members, other donors, and this is a great way to drive that user-generated content. You're building the relationship, and you're getting the word out in more ways, introducing new and original content. Those are just a handful. If you are new to Instagram, those are a couple of quick ways that you can think about incorporating Instagram into your program. But more than anything else, before you get started, Instagram is a powerful tool. It's great for engaging constituents, driving that knowledge revenue, showing impact, inspiring constituents to take action. These are some use cases, but how can you ensure success? Before we get to our top 5 tips, and especially for the half of you not yet using Instagram, please, please, please create, even at a high level, a content strategy. Creating a content strategy means having a goal for the photos and videos you share on Instagram. You know, there are millions of photos that are shared daily to the network. How are you going to cut through the clutter? Do you want to build a following with a particular audience? Maybe you're trying to get some of those young members. Maybe you're trying to, drive awareness with Gen Z. Maybe you want to increase membership among millennials who are starting to get to that middle point in their career. Maybe you want to show and articulate value to them. If you're a donor-focused nonprofit, is there a way where you can focus content, videos, stories, etc., around a specific campaign to really drive results for that? Can you build your brand? If you're a new organization or you're just getting started on Instagram, can you build your brand? Can you take your About Us page on your website and kind of break that into different content pieces that you would share on Instagram? A photo of the person who founded the organization, a photo maybe from back in the day, a Throwback Thursday, to really show and to provide that historic content. What is your ultimate goal? Beginning with the end in mind is going to give you a strong foundation to start using these top 5 tips for Instagram. It's a first step. It's sort of a prerequisite in terms of putting these additional techniques to work. But once you've got a foundation and you understand the goals, these are some of the additional things that we're seeing that you can do to amplify your success. And they're things that we are seeing successful nonprofits do to set themselves apart. So we got 5. We're going to get through them all today. Breakout bios. Many organizations have a static bio. They set it and forget it. They write it one time, and then they leave it alone. They don't do anything else. I'll be honest with you. In looking at Instagram to find examples for today's webinar, it took me a hot minute to actually find somebody who had personalized their bio with some additional information that was sort of time sensitive. It's okay if you just want to write it once and you want to set it and leave it alone, but you can get creative in this section and you can change it up. You can add links to new blog content. You can highlight a campaign or direct to a call to action. Then if you're running a campaign with your content, maybe you have maybe you are running a campaign to drive membership renewals or membership upgrades. Take advantage of all this value that we're providing to you through this specific kind of membership, and you've got a series of photos. You can direct back to a link in your bio, and that link can take somebody right to the form that they need to complete to upgrade their membership or to make a donation. You're showing your impact, you're telling the stories, you're sharing the experience of other donors. Put a link in those captions, direct back to your bio, and have the user take action, have the member or donor take action from there. It's a great way to help those new to your organization get to know you a little bit better. Instead of them seeing you on Instagram and then having to go Google your organization, say link in bio, and somebody will know what you mean. Those who are not familiar with you, go to your bio, click a link, and maybe they're on your website learning more about you. I really love this example from St. Jude. Here you see there's a link, stjude.org/September, that's directing back to a website page that's talking to you about what's going on with their organization in September. Some folks will go ahead and update those links almost in real time, but sometimes people update those links. If you don't have the time to do that, maybe even once a month, maybe you have an events calendar that you want to publicize. Here are all the wonderful things that we're doing in October. Come be part of our holiday planning for December. You can go ahead and just update that link once a month. Again, getting creative with your bio section. It seems like really a basic thing, but there's a missed opportunity a lot of nonprofits aren't taking advantage of. Creative content. You go to Instagram for the content, right? Whether you're a small organization with limited resources, it's hard to come up with fresh content on a regular basis, but it's important. I find it really helpful to think about content in two dimensions. First, you've got your topic. You've got the strategy. You know what you want your content to do, and that's going to be really helpful. But think about what else your members or donors want to see from you. Me, I always will engage with a video or a photo of kittens. Although I'm not currently looking to add yet another cat to my family, it's going to keep me coming back and engaged. I happen to have adopted my 2 cats from Austin Pets Alive, but I will always take the time to stop and watch a kitten video. Understand what those triggers, for lack of a better term, are with your donors and members. Think about it in that context when you're looking at topic ideas. It's not just about the topic of the content, though. It's also about the type of content. It's not just about photos, but it's about videos as well. According to Social Times, Instagram photos get 36% more likes than its videos, but videos gain more comments than photos. Back in April of 2016, Instagram changed the rules. Videos can now be up to 60 seconds. And according to a recent report by Sprout Social, video posts received 38% more engagement than image posts and 2.1 times the amount of 2.1 times the amount of comments. So videos, they're not hard. It's still using your app, your iPhone or your Android phone, taking a quick video, uploading it, showing the impact. Here's what we're doing in the meeting, uploading it. Hey, you know what? We're out and about today in the community, and this is what we're seeing. Upload a video. Photos are great, and they're absolutely something that should be part of your content mix. There's, ways to take advantage. Throwback Thursdays. You can create text images like the call to action we saw earlier. But mix it up. Don't just have static pictures. Take advantage of videos too, because videos are going to get some real nice engagement in terms of comments, and that can provide a lot of additional opportunities to connect one-on-one with your members and donors. Speaking of compelling captions, your content's important, but there's an additional opportunity to share your story via captions. Pictures worth 1,000 words, but captions for Instagram can be as long as 2,200 characters. So you get to add to the story, and that's a really terrific opportunity you don't want to miss. Start your captions with the important facts, just to make sure they're not truncated. If you're sharing impact, introduce people you're helping. If you're showing your organization in action, share who the people are in the photo and what they're working on. You can direct back to a link in your bio, like we talked about a few minutes ago, and conclude with a clear call to action. This is a fantastic example from the American Library Association. They have a campaign, Library Card Sign Up. This is them sharing sort of a grid, a matrix, a mosaic, if you will, of a number of different user pictures that were shared with them. And get library carded. They're telling you about their hashtag in the caption. So they're inviting others to share their photos. They're sharing the campaign hashtag. They're sharing the library, get library carded. And they're also introducing, hey, post a video with your library card before noon on Sunday, so time sensitive, right? For a chance to win $100. So what a great example of a caption that drives user-generated content, introduces a campaign, creates a time-sensitive call to action, and introduces an incentive. A really wonderful example from the American Library Association here. Calls to action don't have to be, you don't have to raffle off $100. You can just ask people to click a link in your bio. You can encourage them to join your organization. You can ask them a question that you'd like them to answer. A great way to drive engagement in your comments. You can ask them to tag a friend. That gives you additional visibility into who your members and donors' extended networks are. And you can also use your organization's hashtag. Speaking of hashtags, it is time for our second poll. What do experts suggest the quote-unquote right number of hashtags is? Is it A, 0, B, 5, or C, 30? Use the maximum number. I was going back and forth. Well, this is a group of, not to spoil it, but this is a group of smart cookies. It's not zero, let's put it that way. Instagram posts with at least one hashtag get 12.6% more engagement posts. So you need to have at least one hashtag. The maximum number of hashtags you can use in a caption is 30. You can add in the first comment, as seen in our example, you can add another 30 for a total of 60 hashtags. But experts, as most of you identified correctly, suggest best practice is 5 or 6. Obviously, this example from Second Servings Houston is a food bank in Houston, Texas. It's my hometown. They use a lot of hashtags. Use hashtags to your advantage. And if you have a content strategy for Instagram, if you know what your goals are, it's easier to be more strategic here. Start with maybe 5 hashtags, the topics that are most relevant to your post, and then add additional to sort of broaden your exposure. You want to use a hashtag to get additional visibility. There are people who will now just follow a hashtag, which is something you can do on Instagram. For example, if you are interested in Houston food, maybe you follow the Houston food hashtag. Maybe a number of those posts are really going to be about local restaurant events, people taking pictures of their dinner and sharing them on Instagram. But then you see something for Second Serving Houston come up and you realize that there is a nonprofit who is providing this programming and this service to people. You realize that Houston food is not just about the restaurant scene, right? I know that I personally follow the hashtag eco living. I'm somebody who is very interested in environmental concerns, and eco living gives me exposure to all sorts of content that I wouldn't have followed otherwise. So a lot of your Instagram users, a lot of your members and donors using Instagram may be following hashtags that are focused on topics and issues and causes that are near and dear to them. As mentioned, I follow eco living. I also really happen to like dachshunds. So I follow hashtag dachshunds, and it ensures there's always a supply of dachshunds in my news feed as well. Here's some ideas for using hashtags and making the most of hashtags. Keep it simple to the point. You can use your name as a hashtag. That's not a bad way to go. You should obviously have a pretty intuitive username for Instagram, but don't hesitate to also use your organization's name as a hashtag, because sometimes that's what people will search for, especially if you've had to do something like you've had to abbreviate your name for your user account in Instagram. Add your full name as a hashtag just to make it easy for people to find you. Use hashtags for your organization's areas of focus. Maybe mention, I talked about eco-living, there's end cancer, there's next-gen nursing, there's all sorts of interesting things. If you have a mission or a passion, and that's true whether you're a professional society, if you're a badminton club, if you are an HOA, who wants to talk about your community, if you are a donor-focused charity, think about, your mission and the community and the audience your organization serves. Use as a hashtag. As mentioned, create a hashtag for your campaign. Try to keep it short. If you can, even if it means making 2 hashtags, make sure that there's one with the campaign and your nonprofit's name or abbreviation. That's a really great way to do it. And 2, we talked about earlier making Instagram easy. It is challenging. It's real easy to take a picture on your phone and upload a photo to a website. It is less easy to type out 5 to 30 hashtags over and over again. One great hack that I saw was saving all your hashtags into a note on your mobile device so you don't have to type them out again and again and again every time. So if maybe you've got 10 different hashtags that you're using, create a note in your mobile device, and that way when you're posting a photo, it's real easy. Hop over to that note application, copy and then paste them into your caption and make sure it helps eliminate errors. First of all, I know I'm somebody who's always prone to misspelling. So it's a real great way to save time and make sure that the quality is up there as well. Ask your followers, as we saw in that American Library example, ask your followers to take pictures using your branded hashtags and follow your instructions on what images maybe are going to be the most relevant, and regularly engage with hashtags that you use by commenting on others' posts. I mentioned that I, as an individual user, follow several hashtags. You can also follow several hashtags. It's worthwhile. Get to know different people, different influencers in your community, in your organization's area of influence. Get to know those folks, comment, engage with them, try to get them to follow you back, and share their content. There's also stories. You know, Instagram stories, it's kind of like Snapchat if you're not familiar. It is basically creates a photo or video sequence that can disappear 24 hours after being posted. Limited time content, but this type of content is kind of like real-time, unedited, unfiltered content is what we call ephemeral content. And ephemeral content has become really, really popular since audiences have become so saturated with overly polished images, stylized images from influencers. Everybody's got 90 different filters on a picture, and they've got, this crazy amount. That it's not peak foliage season in Rhode Island, but all of a sudden their super stylized picture is showing you the beautiful colors of all the different trees. Users get that. I mean, they might enjoy that content, but it's not as credible. They sort of they're on to you. They're on to your tricks. So stories provide you with a really amazing, real-time, credible way to deliver that ephemeral content. A 2017 study found 86% of users say authenticity is key when deciding which organizations to like and support. So for you as nonprofit, be you member focused, be you donor focused, having this sort of real-time credible content is the way to go. You can share stories from your users. You can ask them to share your stories as well. But it is a great way to update your followers, share behind the scenes, hold contests, shout out followers. A couple of examples. Last week was the Global Climate Day of Action. And a number of organizations, here you see two, you see Greenpeace, and the other one is the Sierra Club on the right. And what they were doing is in real time, they were sharing stories from young people who are part of their organization who were striking on behalf of climate change. And it's one thing to, it was interspersed. They've got images in there that they've taken, some pictures of the different protests happening around the world. But providing these real stories from users was a great way to update followers on what was going on, what these young people were doing. It was a great way to share behind the scenes from the different strikes around the globe. It was a great way to shout out followers. These are young people who are making a difference, and it was great for them to get the international exposure of somebody like Greenpeace or an international exposure of somebody like the Sierra Club. Two, what's interesting about these two stories is they've got some additional calls to action. You'll notice on the left, the Greenpeace one has a swipe up, and the swipe up allows you to access sort of a link to a website, and that can direct you. It's a great way to sort of introduce a call to action. There's also on the right, you see the inclusion of a hashtag #UseClimateStrike. And the Use Climate Strike was a great way to not only build the credibility with the donors and with the sort of the supporters and the advocates, but also encourage others to do the same by saying, hey, you know what? Climate Strike is next week. Use this hashtag. Here's some great tips for some super stories and ways to take your stories to the next level. Again, stories can be static images. They can be videos, but to really make the most of stories, because they are temporary. Remember, they disappear after a day unless you pin them to your Instagram story highlights. That means you can save them for as long as you like. Some interesting ways to take your stories to the next level. As we saw in this example, use a hashtag. It's a great way to sort of drive additional action. You can also add your location. So let's say, for example, you're assembling, you are an organization, maybe you're having a happy hour. It doesn't have to be something quite as dramatic as climate strike, but maybe you're having a happy hour and you want to identify the location, you want to invite others to join you. That's a great way to do that. Add the location. Include polls. So this is an amazing way to drive engagement. You've got sort of asking, Instagram users, your donors, your members, advocates, and supporters, hey, what do you prefer, option A or option B? Which is a great way to kind of get a quick pulse and to engage them. Everybody likes to be involved in that kind of decision making. There's also a poll option for sliders, so people can say how much they like or dislike something. A great way to share sort of that credible real-time view of your organization and what you're up to, but also to solicit that credible real-time feedback from members. You can also include links. You can use GIFs. There's a GIF here. You see on the left, you see the climate strike for Greenpeace. There's a GIF here that says, oh, snap. So you can introduce some fun and personality to your stories. You can amplify the mood with music. That's a great way to kind of capture people's attention as they scroll through their Instagram stories. If you have a song that's particularly meaningful, either to an event or a cause, you can search for it and add it almost as a soundtrack. It becomes like this little tiny mini movie that is accessible to all of these Instagram users. You can repost other stories in which you are mentioned. And as mentioned below, don't forget about Instagram story highlights. Story highlights are collections of images and videos that can be pinned to your Instagram profile indefinitely. In contrast to an Instagram story that expires after 24 hours, Instagram highlights can be used to broadcast your most important information, updates, campaigns, etc. So a good use case, a good example of how you might want to use this, maybe you have an annual conference or an annual meeting, and you've got an Instagram story where you're sharing highlights from that meeting. That's the kind of thing you want to save and you want to pin to your profile so people can always see what your annual event is all about. Maybe you want to show impact, and maybe you've got a particularly meaningful series of stories that you want to make sure people always have access to about the communities in which you service. Maybe you've got, as an example, an HOA. An HOA could use Instagram highlights. Maybe you want to create some evergreen content around how wonderful your community is. And so when people are looking to move, they immediately say, oh, you know what? Let me learn more about this community. Hey, there's a pinned story. It's like all about Rough Hollow. So you can learn more. There's great uses for Instagram story highlights. It does still maintain some of that credibility. And I think that's to the benefit of an organization, but it's something that you can kind of keep forevermore, which is fantastic. And wrapping up before we get to Q&A, and I hope you have some good ones for me. First of all, for those of you who are new to Instagram or just getting started in terms of using it, some ideas for how you might want to get the ball rolling. Showcase your organization and actually humanize your staff. Make your organization accessible. Illustrate kind of the impact and the fun that you have together. Make somebody want to learn more about you. You're full of interesting people. Show them off. Share timely reminders, some great ways to show some visuals around calls to action. Don't forget, remember, please do X, Y, or Z. Instagram is a great way to kind of, it's an additional channel that is free and easy to use, a great way to get the word out. Reinforce your values. That day in the life is wonderful, both for reaffirming why somebody's already involved with your organization, but also for prospective constituents, members or donors who maybe don't know a whole lot about you. It's a great way for them to see what you're all about. Drive Donji's revenue. If your membership organization really showcase your events, this is another way you can get the word out about things like annual meetings. If you have a new book that's being published, you know, maybe you've all come together, you're publishing some original research, maybe you've got t-shirts to sell, look and think about, hey, you know what, here's everybody folding the t-shirts and putting them in the boxes, or here's somebody wearing the t-shirt and they love it so much. You know, there's ways for you to use Instagram to drive that non-dues revenue. Engaging constituents is another great idea for Instagram. Share stories from donors, members, and supporters. They really help you build credibility. And follow hashtags and comment to build your following. 5 tips for those of you who are using Instagram. And once you've got your footing, I expect those of you new to Instagram to give these some thought as well. Make the most of bios. Include a link that you refer to in captions and stories. Link in bio is really conditioned. Everybody knows what it means. And so it's great news. There's also an opportunity to get creative with your content with a mix of static images that will, and videos. Remember, videos can drive a lot of interesting engagement, but this is something that's, you know, videos and photos. It's really about what the right mix is for your organization. Use compelling captions, not only to show the story, but to tell the story too. Drive visibility with hashtags. Remember, 5 to 6 is what most experts recommend. Use your judgment, but at least one. Having at least one hashtag is going to bump your engagement by over 10%. So use at least one. Give some thought into which ones are most relevant and which ones are going to really serve your goal. And then amplify your stories. Get your constituents involved. Instagram Stories is a super cool feature. They've made it a lot of fun to go in. You can add, again, gifts and locations. You can share the stories from your constituents. Take advantage of that opportunity. It's probably not where I would start, but take advantage of the opportunity when you're ready, and I think you'll really see Instagram engagement soar. And with that, Sonia, we'll turn it over to Q&A.
Okay, thank you so much, Amanda. So I've got a few questions here. First question is, what is suggested the amount of posts per week?
I think it really depends on your organization. Don't bite off more than you can chew. There's nothing worse than an organization who posts a whole bunch and then goes dark. It's sort of that, you know, what happened? Why aren't they posting anymore? I think if you can at least aim for the more the merrier. I think, though, that you have more than half of Instagram users who are checking in at least once a day. So if you can, try to start with maybe 5 times a week, 7 if you can. That's really, I think, the right place to start. Again, the more the merrier. There's always a constant refresh of content. So the more you can post, the better your odds for being in front of more eyeballs. But I think at least once a day is a great place to start.
Great. And next question is, to drive donations, should you link to your donor page? And if so, where in your post should that go?
I think it's a great question. There's a couple of different places you can link to your donor page. One is you could put if you wanted to do that real visual graphic element, you could just, you put a link to your donor page there. But the 2 better places that I think would be more appropriate or more impactful is in your captions. So maybe have an image of something that is related to your campaign. If it is, to support children back to school supplies, maybe it's a kid opening that backpack. And then in the caption, you say, we're making new school year dreams come true. Click here to see how you can help. That can link back to your page. I would also consider putting a link to that donation page in your bio. That's another great place to drive activity, especially for those folks who are maybe less familiar with your organization or just looking to learn more about you. Showcasing that donor page and telling them really what you're all about and what you're trying to, the change you're trying to influence is a really fantastic use of a call to action.
Awesome. And the next one is, how do you follow selected hashtags?
I would need to go into Instagram and tell you how to do that. You can, when you search for it, I'm opening real time. This is real time credible information here. I am looking for, I'm going to do hashtag Austin, and I'm searching, and I click on it. There it is. When you search for a hashtag and you click on the hashtag, once it's been served up to you, you will be given a blue button option to follow that hashtag. Click the button, and posts that are tagged, all posts that are tagged with the hashtag will start appearing in your Instagram feed. So it's really very, very simple. You can follow more than one hashtag. You don't want to follow too many hashtags because you don't want to necessarily spam yourself. But, you know, follow the ones that are the most relevant to you. It's a great way to sort of broaden your reach and start engaging folks who may not yet be familiar with your organization.
Great. And next question is there another app that young members are turning to, or are they staying with Instagram?
It's surprising to me. You know, I expected Snapchat to perform really well. TikTok is obviously also something very popular. We might look at that in an upcoming webinar. But Instagram was really the one that performed the best. And I say the best, it performed in some ways better, certainly better than Facebook. We're seeing a lot of attrition of Facebook usage, particularly with younger members. It performed better than LinkedIn. So if you're a professional society or association, Instagram far and away outperforms LinkedIn. Twitter was slightly more influential for Gen X and millennials, but Instagram was really that one that members and donors were saying was very effective, but not used quite as much. And so I think there are always going to be those fringe technologies that kind of catch the eye of a young member, but Instagram was the one that I think presents the most immediate opportunity for organizations looking to engage not only young members, but members of all kinds.
Great. And another question here is, it seems like there are advantages to doing both static images and videos. How should we decide between the two on any given post?
I would say whichever one you can feel confident you get done, right? If, you know, a video is a great opportunity to showcase movement or capture sound. So if you are at a rally, for example, video can be very powerful in not only capturing the visual of the crowd, but also the roar and the applause of the crowd. So, you know, in that regard, if you have something that's multiple dimensions, maybe there's sound you want to capture as well, video is for sure the way to go. If you want to show sort of more than one image, maybe you want to pan around a room, or if you want to show, you know, different corners, I think video is very effective for capturing that. I think that photos do the job a lot of the time. I think I would probably err more on the side of photos because sometimes those are easier to capture. Sometimes those aren't as wonky. You know, sometimes you jokingly call it sort of the Blair Witch phenomenon, right? Where somebody's camera work's a little shaky and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you get a little nauseous watching the video. So static images are great. They do just fine. But if you want to capture sound, if you want to capture sort of a broader perspective, that's when I would probably look to video.
Great. And is it okay to mix personal content along with work content, or should you have separate accounts?
I think, you know, it's sort of, there's mixed feelings on this. I can certainly share my own sort of philosophy and approach. I mix both. I am cautious of the fact that I am mixing both. If you are a nonprofit and you are mixing personal posts with your nonprofit's posts, it's something to be aware of. See if you can't keep those personal posts. Everybody loves personal stories. So it's not just like, hey, we're here at this event and it's wonderful and look at all the people. That's a great Instagram post. Donate to our campaign today and help us as we collect cat food for orange kitties. Wonderful, right? Instagram post. If you want to share something that is more personal, like, oh, you know what? Our printer is down in our office today, and geez, our newsletter is going to be delayed getting out a week. That's okay too. It personalizes your organization. It makes you relatable. It may even get you some help if that's what you're looking for. If it's personal sort of to your organization, that kind of day in the life, I think that's appropriate. If it's personal, like you taking a selfie of yourself in the dressing room of an H&M, wondering if pants look good on you, probably not the sort of content I would share on your nonprofit's profile. And in that case, I might separate the two out.
Perfect. And this will probably be our last one. Is Instagram a good place to post our organization's fellowship slash scholarship opportunities?
A zillion percent. A zillion percent. And there's a bunch of reasons why. First of all, it is a channel highly used by the people who would likely be the recipients of those scholarships, those Generation Z folks, Gen Z born 1997 to 2012. So that is your sweet spot. Those folks are on Instagram, and what a wonderful way for them to learn about the opportunities for a scholarship, too, for people to contribute to a foundation if that's something that you're looking for. Another great opportunity for you to show the impact. Where did those scholarships go? Where are those people now? How are they taking advantage and putting into practice the education that you helped provide for them? It's a wonderful way to do it. If you have a visual reminder, maybe you do a quickie graphic or do something in an Instagram story. Hey, just a reminder, only 2 days left to submit your application for this scholarship. So there's no shortage of opportunities. It is a wonderful, promoting a scholarship like that is a wonderful, wonderful use of Instagram.
Awesome. Well, we got plenty of questions and we won't be able to get to them all, but don't worry. We'll have the slides and presentation available, and you can feel free to reach out to Amanda or myself with any questions. But Amanda, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation, and I really appreciate you sharing all your experience and advice with us today. It's so important for us to stay on top of engaging young members, and Instagram is a great platform to do that. So I'm just going to end off here with a quick mention that we are going to share the recording with you in a follow-up email within the next day or two. So look out for that. And now that we're coming to the end of the webinar, I want to quickly mention that if you're new to Wild Apricot or you have questions for us, I'll cover some free resources and offers in just a moment. Okay, so if you are new to Wild Apricot, I want to let you know that you can find more free educational content on our Academy page, and Stephen's going to paste the link into the chat for that. This is where you can find more webinars, including recordings of all our past webinars. So I recommend you take a look and check out those resources and content on our blog and articles, because there's lots of helpful content there on growing your membership, running successful events, recruiting volunteers, and so on. And all of that content is free. And lastly, if you're running a membership organization, whether that's a nonprofit, association, or club, or any type of organization, you are welcome to try our software at no cost for 30 days. So feel free to take advantage of this opportunity, especially if you're looking for ways to automate a lot of the tasks that consume your life. So Stephen's going to paste the link in the chat window now, and you can just click on the link to see that you see there, and you'll be taken to our website where you can enter your email, name, and organization name, and you're ready to go with your free trial. Also, if you'd like to receive a call from one of our coaches, just email coaches@Wild Apricot, and one of our coaches will get in touch with you to schedule a call. And Steve's going to paste the email in the paste the email in the chat window now. Okay, so like I mentioned, if you have any questions about Wild Apricot and you're able to stick around for a few minutes, I'm going to pass the mic over to Stephen, who can answer any questions you may have, because we do always get a lot of questions about our software whenever we do a webinar. So if you have any questions about Wild Apricot, please type them into the chat window now. And here's Stephen.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you for coming out today, and I do hope that you found all of today's webinar content regarding Instagram to be helpful. If you have any additional questions, again, you will receive the recording shortly. You can double check all of that, and there's also a lot of helpful resources online related to Instagram, as it's one of the most popular online social media platforms available. So now I'm here to answer any questions that you have about the Wild Apricot software itself. Just to lead in, so Wild Apricot is an all-in-one membership management platform. You can run your membership renewals online, take event registrations. We provide you with a website that's kind of pre-built. You can substitute your own content into there, and it's sort of an all-in-one place to run your organization. So if you have any questions about the platform itself, feel free to paste them into the chat there, and I'll take those questions now. And in the meantime, I just want to address one of the more common questions that we tend to get. A lot of people come into Wild Apricot needing certain functions like a membership management portal or the membership renewal process or even the event registration, but they already have a website and they don't want to build a new website in Wild Apricot. And so the question that comes up is, does Wild Apricot integrate with any existing websites? And the answer to that is yes. We provide embeddable widgets that let you bring over all of the key areas of Wild Apricot's functionality. So you could, for instance, embed a membership application form into your existing site, or a membership profile or a member directory. Maybe you have a directory of businesses and businesses are your members. You could embed an event calendar or an event registration page where people can view an event and click register and sign up, and you can take the payment right there on your site. And that would all be powered by Wild Apricot in the back end. But the users on your site would, to them at least, it would just look like they're still on your external site, and it would all be fairly seamless. Another question that comes up is, does Wild Apricot handle organizational memberships? Like, let's say your membership is a business. You have one person who's responsible for paying for that membership for everybody, and maybe 5 people from the business are also allowed to have membership benefits and register for your events and view members-only pages. Well, we do have support for that as well in what we call membership bundles. And that's the sort of thing that we'd be happy to jump into a bit more depth with you if you wanted to hop on a call with us and just discuss some of the topics here and see how they relate to your organization. We have coaches, including myself, who are able to just schedule a call and get in touch with you about that. One other thing I wanted to mention is that if you're an existing Wild Apricot user, or perhaps you're just still considering the software, we have a series of video tutorials that we call our Wild Apricot Bootcamp. And they are designed to take you through all of Wild Apricot's key areas of functionality in a lot more depth. And that covers like video 1, membership and membership level setup, all of that stuff. Video 2, events and finances. Video 3, emailing, things like that, website. We've got guides for all of that stuff, and it's super, super useful for existing admins and new users to the system. We've had existing admins come back and say they wish they'd seen it a year ago. So if you'd like to check out those videos, please feel free to send that email to coaches@wildapricot.com and just say, please send me the Wild Apricot Bootcamp. We'll make sure we get that to you. It's totally free. They're all just hosted on YouTube, and we'd be happy to make sure that you get that just to help your Wild Apricot setup get a little bit more seamless. So it looks like those are all the questions that we've received regarding Wild Apricot today. Thank you so much for coming out, everybody. We do run these expert webinars every month, and we hope you come in for the next one. It's always a good time, and it's always super useful content for everybody involved. Hope you have a great day. Take care.